Right. Well, Berkeley's next door to Oakland, kind of.
Okay, maybe
my parents
I'm not clear. Were you in Oakland or were you in Berkeley?
We lived in Berkeley, and when they came back from San Pedro, they bought a house in Berkeley, and
they being your parents?
my mother and father. And they bought the house in Berkeley, and my grandmother lived in Piedmont, which is kind of inside of Oakland. It's
Grandmother Louise Kinney. And Louise is your middle name.
Right.
Is that after her then, I assume?
Well, both grandmother's name was Louise, and my mother's middle name was Louise.
Oh, okay.
And Linda, they said it came from the song when radios first came out. When you walk down the street, who should you meet but Linda was the first major top song. So I kind of thought I was named after that, but when I studied nursing, the first real woman to be recognized as a nurse was Linda Richards, and my mother was very interested in all of that, so I may have been named after her partially too. So my name has a great deal of media importance.
Okay, I just remembered something about the other house, the house with all the sisters in it. You said you were in there and the living room had a TV in it, and this is would be 1950 range.
Right, I was very surprised to see a TV in it because TVs were very new.
That's quite a mountain, and looks like a volcano there.
Yeah, that. Yeah.
I don't know if you guys can see what we're looking at. We just entered California. We're looking at fire.
Mount Shasta.
Oh, okay, that would be Mount Shasta. Okay, so...
Which always has snow on it. So when I got there, you could see, I think there are still irises growing in the iris beds, but they really hadn't been tended for a long time. They were still being watered occasionally or something, but he used to breed bearded iris and orchids, as I said before, because of the circulating waterfall. Sebastian tried breeding orchids. It's very difficult to do that, to get them to start from seed.
Your son Sebastian did this
My son Sebastian did this deal.
In case other non-family members are looking at this. And, maybe we should say today's date. Oh, it should be printed on the display on there.
Okay.
Just to be clear, it is Wednesday, October 16th, 2013. Okay, so any other memories about the house of the sisters? Any other people that were related, staff or help or anything that you can remember?
No, there's just a few sisters, but the furniture in the sisters' rooms was all handmade too. Like the missionary beds that had canvas weaving and a mattress on top of them, wood frame. And each girl had a dressing table that was made out of like orange crates with a back to it and a big elaborate mirror on it and a nice table on it. And they had like a wooden wardrobe in their room for a closet. And each room had a window in it.
We are going through a California State agricultural checkpoints. As you can see here, fancy. Was that like mission style then, or was it more Victorian furniture? Or just sort of a
Well,
homespun?
upstairs, I was surprised because downstairs was so expensive and nice and well taken care of for so many years, and upstairs was homemade.
Yeah, I think you would expect that, especially in the formal area of a Victorian house, where the guests would come in, the acquaintances would come in, it would be very formal. And then it gets more casual
Real
as you
in the
get
back.
into the living room, and then the kitchen is going to be a kitchen, and then upstairs is going to be very, very like.
Right, and they had their chamber pots under each bed too, I remember.
Oh, right. So was there plumbing or outhouse or what?
I don't know. I don't know. I think the house had been plumbed somewhere along the line.
Do you remember a kitchen sink?
Yeah, there was a kitchen sink there. When I walked through the kitchen, there was a kitchen sink, but there wasn't any water upstairs because the maid had to carry the water upstairs.
But there was a waterfall in the basement. So
In the basement.
Must have been plumbed water for part of it.
But I don't think they had thought to plumb the toilet yet. And the bunkhouse didn't have a restroom or kitchen in it. It was just, they just had bunk beds.
Oh, you actually went into the bunkhouse?
Right.
Oh, what was that like?
Dusty. It had about 12 beds in it.
When you say bunkhouse, I picture like the bunk rooms in Camp Laverne. Big open rooms with just bunk beds.
It was one big open room with, I think, 6 bunk beds in it, and it reminded me more of a ship or something than Camp Laverne. It was more enclosed.
Was it insulated and painted, or was it very
I
wood?
don't think so. I think it was wood. It was dark. I don't. Either there was no windows in it, or the windows had long ago been covered up.
Electricity?
I could see in there, and the windows were dark, so I think there was a dim light. Yeah, a light bulb in there. Really take us in. We kind of got into the doorway and looked around and came back out again.
And was anyone actually living in there?
No, hadn't been living in there for years.
Okay. Was it a storage area, or was it
No.
just sort of a
Just the bunks,
open place?
mattresses, a few blankets on a few of the beds, but
So if
I guess as they sold off property, they needed fewer and fewer people to help them run it, so the least favorable beds, people borrowed, used the best blankets. So by the time I got to see it, some of the beds didn't have mattresses or blankets on them, and some of them did.
Right. So this is people to run a chicken ranch and whatever farming you needed to sustain a house like that, I'm guessing.
They had a little vegetable garden, but I think it was a lot smaller than it used to be, and I didn't see a pantry. I think they must have had one, but we walked through the kitchen, and then outside we didn't see the room behind that, and I was never shown the grandparents' bedroom.
So were there out structures like a barn for the chickens and a barn for horses and
I think
other
so,
animals?
but we didn't get to see that.
Okay.
And I think a large part of that was gone too, because the property had been sold off.
Do you remember any of the colors of the inside or outside of the house?
No.
Did it look Victorian?
The parlor and the dining room were were very Victorian.
How about the outside? Do you have fancy detailings or?
The outside was Victorian too. I don't remember fancy detailings. The stairs were very wide, and I think I thought like a library, stonework coming up and going across them on either side of the stairs.
Did it have a porch?
I don't remember.
Was it at the top of a hill or on the side of a hill in a valley?
More on top, because from their house you could see out over San Francisco Bay and San Francisco.
Oh, you could.
Right, so they had family pictures of the earthquake, fire, and damage of San Francisco.
Right. So is that the man who? I'm trying to remember. You had one set of grandparents that met through the earthquake disaster.
That would be my father's side.
On your father's side.
So these people came over by covered wagon and didn't get across to San Francisco.
These? On your father's side?
My mother's side didn't get across to San Francisco.
Oh, they came. Oh, I see. So they came across. And
I think they came across Dunner Pass and then came down. So they didn't come up the peninsula. They came down from the north to the Oakland area. And there must have been a way across to San Francisco, but maybe since he was doing farming, he wanted more land and water and stuff. I don't know why they settled there. I'm just kind of guessing. Also, the boy was a water witch. And
which boy? The
son,
the
I
one
think.
brother?
Yeah, he must have been very educated too. Because that time you'd educate the boys, you wouldn't necessarily educate the girls. But he was a water witch, and he developed some of the wells that I understand that Oakland and other areas were using.
Well, grandmother Kinney seemed educated. I don't remember much about her, but
she seemed educated, yes. They may have had a tutor in the house for all the kids.
She used educated words.
Right.
She was not short-spoken.
Right.
Wow, we are going really slow in this section. So, sorry, it was one of the brothers that was the water witch? Or the brother of all the sisters?
The brother? I think so. Either him or his father, or maybe both of them.
And all these people are the Nunenmacher family.
Right.
So, he was an entomologist.
Right.
And a water witch.
Water witch.
And an inventor, lamp inventor. Interesting.
Kind of a rich playboy.
Yeah, it sounds like it, right. Now he would have, as a son of the guy that grew up before or founded there before the gold rush, that man probably was part of the gold rush era.
Right.
Did they look for gold? Or supply gold?
No, and I had the impression, because the social area and the cellar also had a big kitchen in it.
Oh, it did. Good.
A fairly modern stove and icebox and maybe refrigerator and sink, running water, and it was built so the girls would have a place to entertain. So I think he intended for the girls to be able to entertain and be very social. And I think the gold rush happened about the time they would start dating, and I suspect he didn't want them dating gold rush people or transient people. And so he cut them off from social life during gold rush, and then they never went out and got married. And that's just speculation. I don't have any proof of that at this point at all. That's why I'm kind of anxious to look up records and find dates and things, because...
Okay, yeah, but the best thing is just to start and go with what you remember.
Right.
So downstairs, was it an entertainment, like a basement bar?
No.
At a house? Or like maybe an apartment, like a guest apartment?
It wasn't a guest apartment, it was too big. It was big open space with windows at the top, on the back and on the sides. And the stairs going up to the house would have prevented windows from being in the front of it. But it got the west sun, and the west sun and the south sun for sure. Also, I think they opened some of the windows or all the windows, but they were closed because the bird was down there and, keeping the bird in. I don't think the bird was flying anymore. I think he was just walking around on his newspapers.
So what did the bird look like?
He was green and about a foot tall or so.
Was he friendly?
We weren't invited to touch him or pick him up or anything. I think because of his vocabulary, the girls weren't encouraged to play with him, and once the parents died out and they weren't used to playing with him, they're used to just taking care of him down there. His newspapers were clean. He had a pie tin full of food, pie tin full of water there on the floor. I didn't have a perch or anything, but I don't know if he could have blown that. I don't know. He was just there. I was just kind of surprised. There's this wonderful, rich, Victorian-type house, and downstairs the cellar is covered with newspapers, and anything else that was in the cellar had cloths or things over it to keep them clean from the bird. And so you couldn't see anything that was in there because it was all covered up.
So do you remember anything of the personalities of the girls that were left?
Well, Joe, I think, was the oldest one, and she was very businesslike. This was very important to her to show the house off.
Do you remember how she was dressed?
No.
And her name was Joe?
I think so. Closer to the area, I'll go through it again, because what I'd like to do is go through the property taxes and see if we can find 11 Arbor Drive and a proper spelling of Nunenmacher, and then Department of Records should have something. Library may have something too.